My name is Jenna, and 2 hours ago, I signed the papers that made me the legal owner of the house my parents said the bank had taken from us. The house I worked 5 years to save while living across the world. I'm sitting in a small quiet apartment in Seattle right now, watching the rain tap against the window. The silence feels like an echo, bouncing back every word I wish I had said to them. They told me they lost everything. They told me we were fighting to keep our childhood home. I sent them nearly every extra dollar I earned because I believed them. But the house was never gone. Only I was. When I got the text from my mom last month asking for another $5,000 for urgent repairs, something inside me snapped. It wasn't the request. It was the tone. The assumption that I'd just keep giving without question. I opened Instagram to distract myself. That's when I saw it. My cousin, Tori, spinning in our old living room, wearing my vintage leather jacket, the one I thought I'd lost in the move. The caption read, "Inheriting grace and gratitude. Love this forever home." I stared at the screen for so long I forgot to breathe. That house, my house, the one they told me they had to sell. They didn't lose it. They gave it away. To her. That was the moment I realized I wasn't their daughter anymore. I was something else. And if they were going to treat me like a stranger, I was about to become the most powerful stranger they'd ever underestimated. Singapore was hot, loud, and relentless. I worked for a tech firm that believed sleep was optional and burnout was a rite of passage. I barely had time to breathe, let alone think about the life I left behind. But I always sent money home. Every 2 weeks. Like clockwork. It started small, just enough to help with groceries or the electric bill. Then came the mortgage scare. My mom's voice shaking over the phone as she told me the bank might take the house. I didn't even let her finish. I wired, "Scene 000 that night." After that, it was always something. Roof damage, plumbing issues, property taxes. I never questioned any of it. I just worked harder. Took on more projects. Skipped vacations. My entire life became about keeping that house safe. Because I believed them. Until I came home without warning. I told no one. I wanted it to be a surprise, thought maybe I'd catch them decorating for my birthday, or baking something stupid like they used to. But when I pulled up to the house, I didn't hear silence. I heard music. Laughter. Clinking glasses. And then I saw her, Tori, dancing in the center of the living room. My living room. Wearing the Dior dress my mother told me she donated to Goodwill. Next to her stood Dean. My ex. My almost fiancé. The man who broke up with me because long distance was too hard. His hand rested on the small of her back like it belonged there. My mother was standing in the corner, beaming like she'd just watched her daughter get crowned prom queen. I ducked below the windowsill. My hands shook as I tried to unlock the front door. But my key didn't work. They changed the locks. The house wasn't gone. I was. And the life I sacrificed to protect had already replaced me. I called Marcy before I could change my mind. She picked up on the second ring. I didn't even say hello. Just told her to meet me at the cafe on 6th and Main. She found me hunched over a cold cup of coffee. Still in my airport jeans. Hands trembling. "Start from the beginning," she said. So I did. I told her about the calls. The emergencies. The guilt trips. All of it. I showed her the photos. The house. The party. The dress. I watched her face go from confusion to disbelief to rage. Then I pulled out my phone and opened Tori's Instagram. "Look," I said. "This post is from the same day Mom said the ceiling caved in and they needed money for drywall." She scrolled silently. Post after post. Designer kitchen. New floors. A champagne bar. They'd renovated the entire house. With my money, Tori had captioned one of the pictures, "Home is where your story begins." Funny. I don't remember giving her permission to write mine. Marcy leaned back in the booth and asked, "What are you going to do?" I looked out the window. I didn't know the answer yet. But I knew this: they didn't just take my money. They took my memories, my name, my place in the family. And I was done pretending they hadn't. If they could lie for 5 years, I could play along for 6 months. They thought they replaced me. They hadn't seen anything yet. I called Oliver the next day. He was an old friend from my early days in tech. Now a contract lawyer with a taste for the morally gray. He helped me set up a shell company registered offshore. It took 3 weeks. 2 fake names, 4 signatures, and an uncomfortable number of documents I didn't read all the way through. But by the end of it, I had control. Oliver knew people who knew people. By the time Thanksgiving rolled around, I was holding every debt tied to my parents' name. Their second mortgage, their credit cards, the car loan they used to buy Dad's precious Mercedes. All mine. They thought they were juggling bills, keeping up with minimums. But the web was closing, and I was the spider. I didn't act right away. Instead, I watched. Tori posted twice a day. Sometimes more. House tours. Outfit changes. Her new reading nook. My old reading nook. She called the sunroom her sanctuary. She hosted yoga classes in the backyard. Sold tickets. Used my grandmother's dishes for brunch. Dean was in most of the photos now. Arm wrapped around her waist like he was afraid someone else might try to claim her. They weren't hiding it. They were celebrating. The most expensive post was from a charity gala. Tori wore my mother's sapphire necklace. The one my mother promised me on my 21st birthday. She captioned it, "Wearing legacy with pride." I stared at my screen so long the words blurred. Let them pose. Let them toast. Let them build their fantasy. I already owned their reality. And they had no idea how close they were to losing it all. The invitation came in the mail, with gold foil lettering and a wax seal. Tori was throwing a housewarming gala. Black tie. Catered. Live music. Champagne fountains. At my house? I RSVP'd under my middle name. No one would think to cross-check. Marcy helped with the planning. She booked me a stylist, helped me find a dress that whispered power, and stood by while I practiced my lines. She knew this wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about identity. I arrived late. The valet looked at me like I didn't belong. Perfect. The house shimmered with string lights. Music spilled from the windows. I stepped out of the car and let the cool air center me. This wasn't about rage. This was about truth. Tori opened the door herself. Her champagne flute froze halfway to her lips. She wore the earrings I got in Italy. The rug beneath her feet was the one I shipped from Turkey. Her mouth moved, but no sound came. Lovely party, I said, stepping past her. Hope I'm not too late. The room stilled. Fatis turned. My father nearly dropped his drink. My mother gasped like she'd seen a ghost. In a way, she had. This is my house, I said calmly. And it's time you remembered that. Mark entered behind me. 2 suited men at his side. He handed me a folder. I held it up. First announcement. Every credit card used tonight is frozen. Every account. Every line of credit. Including the caterer's deposit. A gasp. Someone dropped a glass. Second. The mortgage you claimed was foreclosed, I own it. Along with every loan in your name. That's not possible. My dad snapped. Oh. But it is. The investment firm, that's me. Mark began distributing the documents. Served. All of them. 30 days to repay. 847. Ling. The room erupted. Guests backing toward the door. Whispers like gunfire. This is my home. Tori shouted. Is it? I pulled out the original contract, the unsigned transfer agreement with my mom's notes scrawled in the margins. Dates. Amounts. Lies. Mom reached for me. Please. Don't do this. You did this. Every dollar you stole. Every piece of me you gave away. You're our daughter. She cried. No. I was. Not anymore. Party's over. They didn't leave quietly. Mom collapsed into a chair, sobbing uncontrollably. Dad tried to shout over me, but the guests were already gone. Tori stood frozen like the floor might swallow her whole. I walked out without another word. The next morning, my phone exploded. Text from my mom. My dad. Tori. Dean. Even Aunt Rachel. Mom said she couldn't breathe. That she was having chest pains. Tori posted a black screen with the caption, "Everyone always hated me anyway." Dad called Mark's office and accused him of elder abuse. Dean texted me 7 times. The last one read, "Please. I never meant to hurt you." Marcy met me at the cafe 2 blocks from my place. She didn't say anything. Just slid a latte across the table and waited. I stared out the window and whispered, "I don't know if this feels good anymore." She nodded. Because it's not about feeling good. It's about feeling done. Simon called me that night. I hadn't heard his voice in almost 2 years. I saw the news. He said quietly, "I don't know whether to congratulate you or apologize. You don't have to do either. I just want you to know. I believe you." I stared at the ceiling long after the call ended. Because even when you win, losing your family still leaves a hole. And I wasn't sure anything could fill it. Mark filed the paperwork on Monday. The courts accepted. 30 days. Pay it back or go to trial. My parents tried stalling. Their lawyer filed for an injunction. Denied. They tried liquidating assets. Most were leveraged beyond value. The local paper ran a story, "Daughter turns tables on family in $800K fraud scandal." Half the town thought I was a hero. The other half called me cold. Cruel. But I didn't feel like either. I felt empty. Because justice isn't warm. It doesn't hug you at the end. It just arrives. And leaves you to clean up the silence. Tori showed up at my door 3 days before the deadline. She looked thinner. Worn down. No makeup. Just her and a manila envelope. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she said. "But I need to say it." Out loud. She sat on the edge of the porch. Hands trembling. "I was always jealous of you. Jenna. You had purpose. You had distance. I only had proximity. So I stole it. Piece by piece. Your closet. Your house. Dean." She handed me the envelope. "It's a notarized confession. Full detail. Use it however you want." I nodded but didn't open it. She looked at me and said, "You were never cruel. You were just gone. And I didn't know how to be someone real without copying you." I didn't hug her. I didn't cry. But I said, "Maybe one day we'll talk again." She nodded. "That's more than I hoped for." And left. The house was empty when I returned. Furniture gone. Rooms echoing. They left behind a shoebox in the attic. Inside photos. Letters. My grandmother's brooch. And a note. In my mother's handwriting. "We didn't mean to hurt you. We just didn't know how to ask. You were always so capable. So far away. Tori needed us more. We thought you'd understand eventually." I dropped the letter. Understanding doesn't undo betrayal. But at least now I knew they lied to themselves. 2. The furniture I bought filled the rooms slowly. I chose soft colors. Quiet textures. A place to breathe. Dean returned the engagement ring. Tori mailed back the vintage coat. Simon brought a photo album. We looked at it together one night. Kids on the carpet. Mom smiling. Dad grilling. Lies made beautiful in captured light. Maybe we all needed to become different people. Simon said. Maybe. Jana. Tori texted again. Just once. I'm working 2 jobs now. Therapy's helping. I don't want anything. Just wanted you to know. I didn't reply. Marcy brought over coffee the next morning. She stood by the window and said, "So, what now?" I watched sunlight move across the floor and whispered. "Now I live with what I did. And they live with what they did. Forgiveness, not yet. But maybe someday. Because even in a house rebuilt from ashes, sometimes you still hear the echoes. And sometimes, that's where healing begins.